For more on Chinese-Latin American relations, we're joined by Laura Carlsen in Mexico City. Laura is a director of Latin American Rights and Security, America's program at the Center for International Policy. So, Laura, what do you make of Wang Yi's Latin America tour? Was it a success?
Yes, I think from what we know so far, it was a success. Of course, it had the objective, basically, of cementing very key relationships. He went to the countries that are closer to China because they're not so tightly within the realm of influence of the United States. So these relationships are crucial to China. And China's looking to go beyond the relationship they've had up to now with Latin America, which has been based mostly on importing raw materials. And there's been some criticisms of that being such a strict focus of the Chinese relationship. So now they're looking more to the political realm too, where they can create alliances and go into international forums allied with some of these Latin American countries.
So were there any shortfalls? We know a lot was accomplished. He went to Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, and Cuba. Any shortfalls in any of those visits?
Well, I think, they wanted to accomplish closer cooperation in general, and this trip is to prepare for the trip of the president in July. So they weren't going to make any big, real specific announcements on this trip. What they were looking for is more cooperation and to send a strong message to all the countries. So they talked about deeper oil cooperation in Brazil. They signed the agreements, the trade agreements in Argentina. And another reason that they wanted to go at this time was to show support for these countries because they're facing difficult times. All of these countries are entering into a period when they're going to see an economic downturn. And of course, there's political difficulties in some of them as well, especially Venezuela.
Laura, China is Brazil's #1 trading partner. What can you tell us about China's growing influence, not just in Brazil, but in Latin America?
Well, that's been the big story for now several years. And this is important not just because it allows Latin American countries to diversify their trade and investment relationships, but because of the geopolitical implications. It allows many countries to, as I mentioned before, move a little out of what's been known as the United States backyard. This is a contribution to the construction of what's called a multipolar world. That is a world in which a single power, the United States, doesn't dominate. And China has a lot of interest in helping the Latin American countries begin to construct their own autonomous power within that, where they have a voice, as in the BRICS, which is the major conference that the president will be attending in July, where they have an independent voice and can create a series of alliances that don't have to be mediated by the United States in the hemisphere.
Thank you very much. Laura Carlsen, live in Mexico City.